Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Brian Vernon. I'm the board president for Saving Grace. While I see some familiar faces, with others joining us for the first time, I guarantee that all of you will leave feeling so glad you came today. At this time, I would like to thank the following sponsors for making today possible. Please hold your applause until the end. I'd like to thank Coldwell Banker, Reed Brothers Realty, Lonza, Bigfoot Beverages, St. Charles Health System, Avion Water, and a few more generous sponsors listed in your programs. Also, a special thanks to Moonlight Printing for the donation of our programs. I would also like to thank a number of community partners with us today. Tensility, Old Mill District, Sandy's Book Club, and Brooks Resources. At this time, I would like to recognize our board of directors. If you could please stand. Thank you. There are a group of individuals in this room that amaze me with their dedication, hard work, and compassion to serve others. We are all blessed to be surrounded by such amazing people. Would the staff of Saving Grace please stand? When we close today, feel free to approach any one of these amazing people and feel free to ask questions or share any thoughts you have with them. When I joined the board 5 years ago, I didn't know anything about intimate partner violence and even what it really meant. But since that time, their mission has become my mission, and this is why. I have 2 boys, Connor 9, 3rd grade, and Cohen 7, 1st grade. On my drive to work this morning, the boys asked me why I was so dressed up. Working for a startup, I get to wear jeans and a t-shirt to work, so they were confused. I told them about the event for Saving Grace and asked them if they remembered what I do there. They both said that we help people, moms, sisters, nanas, boys and girls, and that we should always treat others with respect and never hurt anyone with our words and actions. Connor said, besides being a pro basketball player, and Cohen said, besides being a professional chef, they both want to help others and be kind to everyone that they meet, showing respect to all. Teaching them respect, equality, kindness, and what a healthy relationship looks like, and how we should treat others are just some of the examples of how I choose to raise my boys so they too can support a life without violence. During the next hour, you are going to hear all about Saving Grace, our tremendous services to survivors of intimate partner violence and their families. You're going to hear about prevention is the key to raising a generation without violence. And I am confident that 1 hour from now, you will be starting a new partnership or continuing the present support that you have, and make a daily impact in lives for others right here in Central Oregon. But enough from me. Please enjoy your lunch and a brief message from Ryan, our development director.
How's the food? I hear a lot of forks and plates and glasses. Please save me some. So yes, I will be giving a brief overview of Saving Grace. I'm pretty new to this area and to the organization, which makes it ironic, right, that I'm giving an overview. I mean, I had to check cheat sheets and, our brochure, and make sure I know what it is we do after 8 months. But my family and I are really loving it here. Since 1977, we have provided comprehensive family violence and sexual assault services here in Central Oregon, specifically to our Tri-County area, with local advocates in Bend, Lapine, Madras, I always want to say Madras, but I'll get it, Prineville, Redmond, and Sisters. Our 24-hour helpline is available 365 days a year. When calling this number, one can expect to find a trained volunteer or staff to help connect them to overnight shelter, safety planning, crisis counseling, and more. Our emergency shelter provides safe housing for survivors and their minor children in a confidential location. There are 8 individual bedrooms, a communal living area that is bright and open. It's such an impactful thing. If you've been there, I know some of you probably have on a tour, or maybe you're a volunteer yourself. There's something about that room. It's just blue paint, big blue room, big ceilings. It feels just like a great atmosphere. And then there's a double kitchen that's attached to that room, so residents cooking meals can watch their children play. During their stay, residents not only receive food, clothing, and hygiene items, but also case management. They receive referrals, peer counseling, and other resources to achieve their goals. We also have a children's advocate at the shelter who provides a much-needed program for children in a colorful playroom, and there's a backyard playground, but I think it looks much like this right now, just kind of covered in snow. This advocate helps kids process the emotional turmoil that they are going through, and also provides respite childcare for the moms so they can get out and take care of the business of gaining independence. So pop quiz. How many are familiar with Mary's Place? That's a good number of you, excellent. Maybe I should have done a quiz, like an actual quiz at your tables, and then we collect them later. But for those of you who aren't aware, Mary's Place is a safe and neutral center located in Bend and a daycare, provides supervised parenting time or custody exchanges without the parents needing to see or hear each other. We prioritize services there for families where there has been domestic violence or sexual assault, child abuse, dating violence, or stalking. Sadly, it's not uncommon to see stories in the news of custody exchanges going tragically wrong. Here's a recent headline: "Man kills woman, then himself during child custody exchange." This incident happened just in January in Washington State. Fortunately, we haven't seen any headlines like that in our community. And this grateful heart on your screen was drawn by a child while at Mary's Place, which is the only program of its kind, by the way, in Central Oregon. Mary's Place does provide a space for a kid just to be a kid while spending meaningful time with their parent. And these services are provided at no cost to our families. And that is thanks to all of you. In addition to our youth violence prevention program, which you're going to hear about from Trish in just a moment, Saving Grace offers other crucial services like hospital response for sexual assault survivors, counseling, and support groups, and even advocacy to help navigate the court system, which can be a long and difficult process for some. As you can probably imagine, each survivor and their family need different types of support once they connect with our advocates. And our goal is to make sure that clients feel safe and supported with services that will best help them in their healing process. This will look obviously a little different for each individual and family because each person and each situation is different. So it really can be hard, as easy as I made this look, to sum up everything we do. It's just a lot. But hopefully this overview was helpful for those of you who are new to us and the work we do. And the fact that you're here today tells me that you have a reason to care. This is my mom. I'm the handsome one on the other side, age 14. It's my 8th grade graduation. And as I was planning for today, I had a memory of my older sister finding a document at our house when we were kids with my mom's name on it, but there was one big typo. She had a different last name than we did. And it turns out that our mom was married before our father. And, I was just young and naive, and I said, "Oh, will we ever get to meet this mystery man?" And very seriously, she said, "If he ever comes around to your school, to the house, I want you to turn and run the other way." If we wouldn't have found that document, I may have never known that my own mother is a survivor. I may have never known that someone close to me was hurt repeatedly and violently by someone she once trusted. I guess we never can predict when someone we know will need some saving grace. A book I recently read put it this way: if you don't believe in brick walls, you will still be injured when you run headlong into one. Funny quote. And if you don't believe that domestic violence or sexual assault will invade your space, your world, your home, it will still hurt. But we get to come together as a community like we are right now, and we get to make a decision when we look our loved ones in the eye and decide right in that moment, then and there, that life without violence really is our future. And today can be our present. While Saving Grace helps so many in many different ways, today is our focus is on prevention and the work we do with youth in our community. The students you are about to hear from have yet to benefit from our youth violence prevention program, but I think you'll appreciate how candid they are as they share their thoughts on healthy and unhealthy relationships. Thank you.
So a healthy relationship to me would be respecting each other's boundaries and limits.
Both people have defined boundaries and defined what they think is important in a relationship.
It's also like communication skills, learning how to talk to each other about certain things.
I've had good communication skills, and there's never been any time where boundaries are crossed, whether that be physical or emotional boundaries.
Like, even the really healthy ones now, like their boyfriends or girlfriends, like to hang out with us and like hang out with the group and hang out with friends all together.
For starters, I think like one of the most things that makes an unhealthy relationship is like it seems to be that everybody's just going through a relationship like after 3 weeks and then they're done, and then another one and then they're done, and it kind of creates this mentality of like, since I'm only going to be dating someone for 3 weeks, then I don't really need to get to know them so well.
It's not like big abusive, like my boyfriend like hit me, like that's a more obvious one than like the smaller like manipulations, and I feel like we don't talk about those enough.
I mean, lots of people love drama, but that really doesn't play into like a healthy relationship.
To me, unhealthy would be, controlling.
I think a big issue is manipulation.
Because for me, I've had a time where I've noticed something that's off, like, oh, like this person's kind of trying to change like who I am, and that's kind of violating my boundaries.
Which is hard because that's when you do need to speak up and be like, hey, I'm my own person. I have my own friends, I have my own social life.
Why live your life with that if you could be better, and don't settle for less?
I have a friend whose, for example, boyfriend wouldn't even let her controlled what she ate because she had to be so perfect for him, and I think that is very unhealthy.
On one side you have somebody who really was controlling, and then they're always wanting the other to be with them. And then on the other side there's someone who's being really restricted and held down, and then so they're always always kind of pressed up against each other.
A lot of high school students are very selfish. It's all me. And when they do get in a relationship, it's not for the right reasons, I think.
When I'm in the classroom with these kids, many times I see myself in all of them. I think about what I knew at that age and what I was going to learn later, and it's beautiful and painful. I am thinking simultaneously, holy cow, I don't think there was a single person that ever said any of this to me once. No classrooms, no teachers, not parents, not friends. I can't imagine what my life would have been like if I had had that information to make different choices or get out of bad situations faster. So when we get going, we run through all sorts of different topics, consent and what's healthy and what's unhealthy and what is good communication. How do you know that the people that you're talking to are listening to you? Some kids come up after and do the quick, high five, thanks so much, that was great. And others, it's bigger. Sometimes at the end they say something along the lines of so where do I go to get help? part of the really lucky thing is that while I get to teach these kids, they are teaching me, and they are this incredible new wave of people who's going to change the world. And so with them and all this information, we're going to stop violence before it starts. They're incredible, and I feel very lucky to get to know all of them.
So hi, and thank you for joining us today on this beautiful winter wonderland of a day. I know it was no small feat to get here, so I truly appreciate you being here. I'm Trish Meyer, and I'm the Interim Executive Director with Saving Grace. I have had the pleasure of working with the organization for over 16 years, and I've been blessed to be a part of our prevention program and to witness the aha moments that students have as they learn about stopping violence before it ever starts. We appreciate the time you've set aside in support of Saving Grace and hope today's program gives you your own aha moments. So now that you've heard about Saving Grace's program and from some of our local youth, I'd like to talk with you about how life without violence starts with prevention. A good visual for prevention is to think about being alongside a river and seeing that several people are struggling coming down the river and drowning. And as more and more people come down the river drowning, someone goes upstream to see what's happening. There they find a broken bridge. It's causing people to fall into the river. But by fixing that bridge upstream, we can prevent people from falling in and drowning. So we have to ask ourselves, in terms of intimate partner violence, how do we prevent this issue from ever happening upstream? We can't ignore that some youth grow up in homes where there may be abuse. But we also know that with some education, we can break those family patterns. In the video you just saw, Sylvie mentioned that physical violence is a more obvious marker, but it's just one of several aspects of dating violence relationships. So here are some stats that will shed more light on dating violence. Did you know that 1 in 3 adolescents in the US is a victim of physical, sexual, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner? And further, did you know that 1 in 10 high school students has been purposefully hit, slapped, or physically hurt by a partner, by a boyfriend or girlfriend, excuse me. And another alarming statistic is that girls and young women between the ages of 16 and 24 experience the highest rate of IPV, intimate partner violence, almost triple the national average. So we know that young people need help when it comes to dating violence prevention. And even the state of Oregon acknowledged this by passing the Healthy Teen Relationships Act of 2012. And it requires all schools to provide dating violence prevention education in grades 7 through 12 for all students. And Saving Grace is the only organization in the community with dating violence prevention expertise to support schools with this important initiative. Over the past several years, our violence prevention program has been able to reach about 3,000 students each year with 1 part-time staff member. But there are so many more students to reach in our community. And actually in Deschutes County, there are upwards of close to 15,000 middle and high school students in the county. So to effectively create a culture of healthy relationships, we need to reach all 7th through 12th graders and instill positive conflict resolution skills to teach the true meaning of affirmative consent and to train positive youth role models who can then mentor younger students. We also need to partner with the broader community, including the college and the local media and other programs that serve youth, so that we can promote an entire community based on healthy relationships. So listen to the feedback that some of the students who've received Saving Grace's violence prevention education have shared. I have never really been in a dating relationship, so learning all this now is really helpful so that I know what my boundaries are and I still have all this information for the future. As someone who is in this type of relationship, dating violence, I wish I would have realized these signs earlier. And the following quote is an example of what we call positive bystander intervention. Your presentation helped me realize that my last relationship was actually very abusive, and I should be thankful for my friends who got me out of it when I was too afraid to. And here is the feedback of a teacher who's invited Saving Grace into the classroom to provide violence prevention education. At the high school, we teach human sexuality, but one of the pieces that sometimes gets overlooked or watered down is the healthy relationships piece. Saving Grace helps us fill the gap, and they do a great job of getting their message across to the kids. Many times I see students who are in unhealthy relationships have an aha moment. It's vital that we start this discussion before they get out of high school so we can curb violence ahead of time. I truly believe that Saving Grace is a vital piece of our high school health curriculum. So we know what we need to do to effectively deter dating violence and truly shift attitudes and behaviors in our community. We need to have a minimum of at least 2 full-time staff members presenting in the classrooms and engaging with the broader community so that dating violence prevention is instilled at every turn for young people. We appreciate you joining us in support of the 4,600 clients we provided vital and sometimes life-saving services for last year, and for the 3,000 students we served with violence prevention education. We all need to stand together to create a safe community where domestic and sexual violence become a thing of the past. Every contribution you make today, whether a financial pledge or the gift of your time, brings us one step closer to that goal. And whether you've supported us for years or are giving today for the first time, I want you to know your support truly makes a difference. So next, I invite you to watch a video that shows you what we're doing with dating violence prevention and to hear from some amazing young people involved with Saving Grace. Thank you so much.
I am a prevention coordinator for Saving Grace, teaching about healthy relationships, about healthy sexuality, helping young people to try to navigate the relationships in their lives and try to understand them a little bit better. And then Jacqueline, I think a lot of you might have met Jacqueline as well, but I don't know if you want to introduce yourself again too.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline, and I went to Sisters High School just like you. I graduated in 2003, and now I speak with Saving Grace and volunteer in schools sharing my story. But I just tell them I came from the same community as all of you guys, and I came from a really nice family. I never imagined that I would ever be in an abusive relationship. I met someone who was really interesting and exciting and very smart and funny and just the life of the party. And he basically worshipped me and put me on this pedestal and I thought in my 19-year-old brain, like, this is what people are talking about when they say they meet the one, who turned out to be really, really controlling and abusive. And I was with him for 10 years. And when I finally escaped, it just made me want to speak in schools. I'm really committed to educating young people and just telling you guys everything I wish that someone would have told me. The first major red flag was only a couple months into dating. We went to a party and I was talking to some of my friends from classes, some guys, and my new boyfriend got super jealous and pulled me outside and started yelling at me and swearing at me and calling me every name in the book. So I went home, and the next day I went to talk to him to break up with him. He said that he had been so hurt that I was talking to other guys, and he was just beside himself and so angry because he loved me more than anyone had ever loved me before. And as an idiot teenager, I stayed, and that is the single most regrettable instant of my entire life. Then things were really good for a while, and then there were other red flags, and he moved me into the middle of nowhere and started preparing for the end of the world. But the worst part was that he treated me like a sexual slave. And so he wanted sex every single day, and if I didn't, he would just take it. I lost my sense of self. I lost my sense of strength, and I just became this shell of a person who was very scared all the time and just jumping. He made me feel like I really was crazy, and then he started threatening to wring my neck. So I tried to get him to go to counseling with me, and then I finally got him to, and I finally felt like this is my safe space, and I can be supported, and I can get through to this man who I know deep down loves me. So I sat there and I poured my heart out, and I said, I cry during or after sex because I feel raped, and I try to hide my crying from you so you won't get mad. And he sat there like a stone statue, and he said, well, you don't hide your crying very well. And it was at that moment, this light bulb went off in my head. This person is incapable of true love, what love means. This person is scary and has no emotion. And I went back the next week by myself, and the counselor said, I was so scared you weren't going to come back. Thank you for coming back. I could see him locking you in a room. I could see him killing you. I really could. And no one had ever said anything like that to me. No one had ever said, this person doesn't treat you right. No one had ever said, you deserve better. Nobody. It was like evening by that time. I took my baby, I went to my friend's house. I called my dad and sisters, and I said, come get me. And he didn't ask any questions. He just said, I'll be right there. And he dropped what he was doing, and he came and got me. And my baby was 2.5, and she didn't really talk a lot. So we're in the car, and she just said, where's Dad? And I said, he's at home. And she never asked about him again. Never.
I just want to say thank you to Jacqueline, because it takes like a lot of bravery to do this, because we were talking also about vulnerability. Like, it's kind of just like you feel naked and you're just standing in front of a bunch of people, and so it's kind of hard, but it can have a big payoff because people will understand you better. So I think thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I remember the last time you were here and I had an experience of an abusive relationship, and what you said really resonated with me and inspired me to not go back to that person.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for sharing that.
I've had some students say that they notice they're being abusive themselves, which I really appreciate. The fact that they're able to see those controlling behaviors and acknowledge that I might be doing that.
I'm going to change the world. I will use this anger that I have and educate young people so that this doesn't happen to someone else like me.
about you, but domestic violence prevention was never something that was on my mind. I used to think that women who find themselves in abusive relationships should just leave. And then it happened to me. The scary thing was that I didn't even realize what was going on. I was like a frog placed in a pot of water on the stove. As the water slowly heats, the frog doesn't realize that it needs to jump out and proceeds to boil to death. Growing up, I pictured an abusive relationship as being strictly physically abusive. This is the reason why it took me a decade to reclaim my life. What started off as a fun and exciting college romance turned into a darkness I could have never imagined. It has been 4.5 years since I escaped my abusive marriage, and I am still absolutely furious. My ex-husband robbed me of my 20s. He made me doubt my own sanity and capability. He destroyed my self-worth, my emotional health, my mental stability, and my will to live. I became lonely and isolated and scared and overworked. My ex-husband would very frequently lose his temper. He would go out into a blackout rage, punching walls, throwing things, slamming doors, screaming, swearing, shaking, and turning red. It was absolutely terrifying, and I would do anything to keep the peace. So I just shrank back and took it. I thought if I was pleasant and compliant, he would be reasonable. He used religion to control me, telling me that man is the head of the household, that God put man in charge, and I was to be submissive. He said men were more intelligent than women. He constantly told me I wasn't smart enough, wasn't young enough, wasn't capable, wasn't strategic, didn't work hard enough, wasn't a good driver, was too emotional, and on and on. When he would yell at me, I would cry. And when I would cry, he would scream at me to go see a psychiatrist, saying I was crazy. At first, I thought I could help him. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, like I would want someone to do for me. I showed him grace and forgiveness, and I was kind and encouraging. I honestly thought, I will love him so much he won't be mean and angry anymore. But I had become a shell of a person. I longed for death. My counselor saved my life. Without him, I don't think that I ever would have left. I believed in the sanctity of marriage and the permanence, and I thought I made this choice. I have to stick it out. My counselor told me to get a restraining order. I did, and my ex-husband contested it. I had to face him in court and publicly go through every detail of the mental, emotional, and sexual abuse I had suffered at his hands. After 2 agonizing days in court, the judge upheld the restraining order. Although I am safe now, I am still healing. I'm angry about what happened to me. I'm angry that my abuser is still harassing and trying to control me. I'm angry that he abuses my daughter. My current counselor told me that anger is energy, and that energy needs an outlet. I decided that a positive outlet for this energy would be educating others in order to prevent this from happening to anyone else. Soon after I moved home to Sisters, I started speaking to teenagers about the red flags of domestic abuse. Sharing my story with kids has been very cathartic for me. I feel like what I endured was not a waste because I'm able to warn young people and help them avoid the same fate. When I can empower a student, I know that they will not only be cautious of signs of abuse, but they will also be equipped to help those around them. Speaking in schools about prevention is incredibly meaningful and important to me. The students are receptive, responsive, engaged, and respectful. Some students send me thank you letters, and I cherish each and every letter. I would like to read 2 of those letters to you right now. Dear Jacqueline, thank you so much for sharing your story with our health class. I thought it was very brave of you to tell us about your experiences. I'm so glad you got out of the situation you were in and that your life has gotten better. This story was very impactful and gave me insight on what a healthy relationship should be. You seem like such an amazing person. I wish you well. This next letter says, Dear Jacqueline, I wanted to thank you for the time you took to come in and share your story. It was very powerful and profound and showed me a lot. I told you after how my father was abusive to my mother and I. It was truly inspirational to hear your story and how strong you are. You are amazing, and thank you. Today, I am happily married to my husband, Jason Beret, a fellow 2003 Sisters High School graduate. He is incredibly kind, thoughtful, compassionate, and caring. I now truly recognize what a healthy relationship looks and feels like. I am privileged and honored to volunteer on behalf of Saving Grace. This organization is an extremely valuable asset in our community. The resources that Saving Grace is able to provide abuse victims in Central Oregon are vital to the health of our community. In addition to being a lifeline for survivors, Saving Grace is radically focused on prevention. My experience has touched the hearts of those around me, especially my parents, Mike and Karen Masker, sitting right over here. My parents have been heartbroken for me. They have supported me emotionally, physically, and financially. After seeing what a difficult road this has been for me, they have become avid supporters of Saving Grace and fierce defenders of all domestic violence survivors. I am so proud of my parents for continuing to give to Saving Grace. It has been a powerful outlet for their anger and a tangible way to make a difference. My goal is to use my story to help young people understand what healthy relationships look like, and that every single person deserves real love and should never, ever settle for less. Thank you, Saving Grace, for fighting tirelessly for all survivors, regardless of gender, race, sexuality, or social status. You are a bright light in our community. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you for attending. My name is Evan and my family and I were clients of Saving Grace. During our time with Saving Grace, they not only provided aid and help to my family, but also educated us in what healthy families and relationships should look like. If you were here last year, you may remember hearing me share about my father. Living with my dad was frightening, and none of us felt safe in our own home. We all feared we might be the one to say something that would anger him, and in turn he would take it out on all of us. Sometimes I found myself wondering how my younger years would have been different if my father had been educated about domestic violence at a young age like I had. What kind of home would I have grown up in then? What if more people stood up for and acted on the change that needs to happen in this world? What if less people just talked about it and more people actually did something? What would my younger years have looked like then? Would I have felt safe? Would I have been safe? Whenever I start asking myself these questions, I must remind myself that I need to stop wondering about what would have changed had someone done something, and get up myself and be the difference between mere thoughts and powerful actions, like Saving Grace did. Because I don't want to be the person who always says someone else will. I aspire to be the person who says I will. And today, I invite all of you to join me. You can look at the screens
now to see how your support specifically impacts Saving Grace and those they serve. Whether it's $1 per day or $100 per month, you are truly changing and saving lives. For example, $1,000 will provide 1 month of supervised visits for a Mary Place family. And thanks to a generous donation from the Howard Cross Foundation, the first 10 gifts at $1,000 or more will be matched. If you are a current partner of Saving Grace, thank you. Right now, you have the opportunity to increase your current pledge or make a special one-time gift. If you are new to Saving Grace, thank you for coming. Right now, you have the opportunity to start a monthly gift, start an annual pledge, or make your first one-time special gift. By becoming a monthly partner, you allow Saving Grace not only to serve those who need help now, but those who will need it tomorrow. I can tell you from my own personal experience, these donations save lives. Every cent of these donations aid those who set out to make change, help, and be the positive difference in the world. Without Saving Grace, I couldn't imagine what my life would look like. But with Saving Grace, today I feel confident, thankful, and safe. So today I ask that you join the cause and lend your support to the organization that has, is, and will continue to be the crucial difference between thoughts and actions. Actions that change the world. When you've completed your donation form, please hand your envelope to your table captain. On behalf of Saving Grace, their staff, volunteers, and most importantly, families like mine, the clients, thank you for being a hero.